What's up, Taiwan? I'm Erika Liu with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Nearly a week on from Taiwan's biggest seismic event in 25 years, and while most of the country has almost returned to normality, some people are still picking up the pieces. Sally Jensen went to one of the last disaster relief centers ahead of its closure.
Ms. Chiu has lived in Hualien her whole life, but she lost almost everything in the huge earthquake that rocked Taiwan last week. Like hundreds of others, she is now putting her life back together and collecting emergency funds from a charity. On Taiwan's east coast, Hualien was just 20 kilometers from the quake's epicenter.
这次真的是在我的经历最可怕跟最大的一次。然后这个地震的经验让我知道说生命的可贵，然后那个活着的每一分每一秒都很珍贵。
The magnitude 7.2 quake that struck 5 days ago killed at least 13 people, injured more than 1,000, and in this port city of 100,000 left many unhoused. In the days since, humanitarian organizations have worked with the government to set up tents, provide food, medical care, and transportation for victims. They're also distributing aid to those displaced and now staying with family or in government-provided accommodation. Just for this one day only, here at this primary school in Hualien, volunteers from Tzu, Taiwan's largest Buddhist foundation, are giving out cash and other donations to people affected by the earthquake, giving out more than $350,000 in aid. Founded in Hualien by a Buddhist nun in the 1960s, Tzu has a long history of disaster response, and it now has 10 million volunteers working in over 60 countries.
These people, they are hurt, they're sad, and they're afraid. What can we provide for them? More than just food, more than just money. I think we need to give them comfort. We need to give them a sense of support.
And the local government is grateful for the assistance. But beyond this initial response and the much-needed handouts, officials here say more needs to be done to help with long-term recovery.
也有碰到很大的一个困难，需要各界的帮助哈，因为政府的资源跟能力只能协助的部分是公的位置，但未来重建的部分，包括这些灾民哈，他们很长期的居住，甚至到房子的重建，可能要运用社会的善款来帮助。
Elsewhere in the country, recovery from the earthquake has been fairly fast. But here in Hualien, where most of the damage was done, it could be some time before families can fully rebuild their lives. Andy Xue, Scott Huang, and Sally Jensen in Hualien County for TaiwanPlus.
A fishing boat that went missing off Taiwan's southern coast has been found and returned to harbor after 5 days without contact. The boat went missing after Wednesday's magnitude 7.2 earthquake. The crew's family members reported them missing after several days without hearing from them. Taiwan's Coast Guard was able to locate the boat and escort it back to port. It's thought the boat had technical problems while at sea. In a first for Taiwan, the Digital Ministry says it has used satellites to send information to earthquake rescue personnel. The ministry says it connected a satellite in low Earth orbit with its OneWeb database that helped create a network for helicopters transporting rescue teams and quake victims. It's the first time the country has used low Earth orbit technology as part of disaster response efforts. The United States says it will give $6.6 billion to expand TSMC's footprint in the country. The grants come from Washington's CHIPS Act and will help the Taiwanese semiconductor giant build a new factory and update existing facilities in the U.S. state of Arizona. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo says the funds will help the U.S. begin making the most advanced chips for the first time. TSMC says it will boost its investment in U.S. production from $40 billion to $65 billion U.S. dollars. A senior Australian lawmaker has raised the issue of security cooperation with Taiwan at a meeting with President Tsai Ing-wen in Taipei. Here's what he said.
Our partnership, our strategic partnership, contributes significantly to regional security. In our shared interests, both Taiwan and Australia have a vested interest in a rules-based, open and inclusive Indo-Pacific. We stand united against any threats to regional stability.
The delegation also said Australia and Taiwan have an interest in maintaining the regional status quo. The visit comes after U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Kurt Campbell last week said the AUKUS security pact between Australia, the UK, and the U.S. could help deter Beijing from invading Taiwan. President Tsai said she hopes cooperation between democracies will help advance regional prosperity and development. An expected meeting between Taiwan's former President Ma Ying-jeou and Chinese President Xi Jinping has apparently been delayed and may coincide with the U.S. Japan-Philippines summit. Tiffany Wong takes a look at what that could mean.
Former Taiwanese President Ma Ying-jeou shaking hands with his compatriots in China. On a visit to Shanxi province, Ma was greeted warmly by fellow Taiwanese tourists. Ma is leading a group of Taiwanese students on a visit to cultural sites in China. During the trip, which is meant to emphasize peace between their two countries, Ma hopes to meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping, whom he's called an old friend.
如何努力保存这些典籍跟文物，这是我们两岸人民共同的任务。
Tensions across the strait are currently at a high as China intensifies its claims of sovereignty over Taiwan, just as the island nation is set to inaugurate a new president, whose policies are seen by Beijing as less than friendly. Ma was hoping to meet with Xi to cool tensions, and a friendly meeting between the two was expected on April 8th, but is now anticipated to happen on April 10th. There's been no official confirmation from either side, but if it happens, experts note that the meeting would coincide with the beginning of summits between the U.S., Japan, and the Philippines, which all share disputes on China's claims to the South China Sea, and may help Xi direct the narrative of this meeting.
Xi has not really done Ma any favors by moving this meeting, because it really just takes away from Ma's claims that this is about cross-strait friendship and leans much more into this broader geopolitical framing. But to most people, I don't know that they will actually lead to any sort of significant changes in cross-strait policy.
Ma and Xi have met once before, in Singapore in 2015, when Ma was still president of Taiwan. But Ma's been out of office now for 8 years, and with no official role in his country, any meeting he has with a Chinese leader might not hold much weight on cross-strait relations, or any sway over geopolitical conflicts. Eason Chen and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.
New Me Too allegations against Taiwanese entertainer Mickey Huang have led to calls for stricter punishments for sexual offenders. Our reporter Sandy Chi has the latest on this developing story.
Less than a year after first being entangled in Taiwan's Me Too movement, television host Mickey Huang is back in the headlines. That's after another woman came forward accusing him of sexual misconduct. In a Facebook post, she says Huang invited her to his apartment for a swimsuit photo shoot, where he took advantage of her. This happened in 2006 when she was just 17. Huang was recently fined $37,000 and given 2 years of deferred prosecution for offences including purchasing sexual images of underage girls from an illegal forum. The new allegations against him have led to calls for stricter punishments for offenders.
如果是以对价关系取得青少年儿童的性影像者，那应该处以3年以上5年以下的有期徒刑，3年以上就没办法还起诉。
Currently, people who distribute sexual images of minors face up to a year in prison and fines of up to $9,300. Buyers of the images, however, aren't punished. In the wake of the allegations against Huang, women's groups in the country want change.
我没有去打破这个供需链的情况之下是不够的，应该对购买的持有者应该是比较加重他的刑罚的。
The Taipei Women's Rescue Foundation hopes Taiwan can set stricter criminal sentencing standards for people who sexually exploit children. They're among a growing number of people in the country fed up with sexual offenders, demanding more to be done. Joseph Wu and Sandy Chi for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Finally today, when it comes to spring flower viewing, people may first think of cherry blossoms. But making a good case for themselves are these pink shower tree blossoms in Taiwan's Jiayi County. I'm Erika Liu. Take care and see you next time.